The date is the 18th of July 1610, as a wounded and exhausted man makes his way up the Italian coast, chasing down a ship that carries his paintings and much of his life's work, when under the brutal heat of the summer sun, he collapses and dies on a beach in Tuscany. His death, like his life, is shrouded in mystery. Some say he died of fever and sepsis or malaria, while others claim he was poisoned by someone on his long list of enemies, which included the Order of the Knights of Malta and many wealthy families from the various city-states of Italy. His name is Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio, and he happens to be one of the greatest artists that has ever lived. His technique was brilliant, with his style often being synonymous with chiaroscuro, the sharp contrast of brightness and darkness, something which he perfected. He took the stories of the Bible, but rather than painting a lofty context for them, as was common in much Christian art, he gave them gravity instead, exactly as if they were events taking place in the dark and dirty streets of some 16th century Italian city. In his depiction of the martyrdom of St. Matthew, the image is dark and chaotic, with various onlookers scattering, while a near-naked soldier kills the saint. It's a far cry from the other lofty and regal depictions before and since. And then there is this depiction of David with the head of Goliath, except Goliath's disembodied head is in fact a self-portrait of Caravaggio himself. It's as if the artist cannot escape his obsession with his own death. The style was so drastically different from the arch and sanitized glorifications of biblical stories up to that point. But Caravaggio is also well remembered because he was, in the darkest way possible, utterly authentic, in that the violence and darkness of his artwork was not out of place with the violence and darkness of his real life. His life and his work are almost like stories that could fall in and out of one another and not be out of place. From Milan to Florence, Rome to Naples, Sicily and Malta, he was famous not only for his work, but for his brutishness, promiscuity and willingness to brawl. On the 29th of May 1606, following a dispute concerning a prostitute of the wealthy pimp Ranuccio Tomassoni, Caravaggio murdered him, in what some believe to be an attempted castration, given the fact that Tomassoni bled out from the groin. The Tomassoni family became just one of many powerful enemies that Caravaggio would make in his life. And despite being respected as, quote, the most famous painter in Rome, he was forced to flee the Eternal City with a death warrant calling for his head. In the year before his death, while on the run from various enemies, he painted his final masterpiece, and it was a painting utterly fitting of its maker. Medieval legend tells of the story of Saint Ursula, who along with over 10,000 virgins was martyred when, while on pilgrimage to Rome, their host city of Cologne was attacked by the Huns. Having killed all of her companions, the leader of the Huns sets his eyes on Ursula, but amazed by her beauty and modesty, said that if she would marry him, he would let her live. She refused, and the leader followed by firing an arrow into her stomach and killing her. The martyrdom of Saint Ursula depicts her final moments, and could almost be seen as Caravaggio painting a premonition of his own death. But then again, the majority of Caravaggio's great works deal with death or darkness in some way. From St. Francis of Assisi in ecstasy, through to St. Ursula, blood and death was an ever-present in his work and in his life. And the mysteries and ambiguities that swirl around both, in combination with his brilliant technique and genius down-to-earth reinterpretation of biblical scripture, is what makes him one of the greatest artists ever. Someone for whom life and art were never far apart, and with whom his secrets will continue to rest in his grave.